All right. Well, let's dive into this. I'm pretty excited about this. Let's kind of introduce ourselves and talk a little bit about what we're doing. But anyway, thank you for coming to our what we hope to be now a new weekly digital strategy chat. This is brought to you by Denverdata Web. So just a quick kind of recap on like who we are and what we're doing here today is we're a digital strategy company, right? So we help our clients achieve their goals with all kinds of unique challenges, right? When it comes from their digital presence with web design or digital marketing and advertising, web development. We're here to really help our clients reach their goals. And we do that with digital strategy. Now, I'm David Zaka. I'm a digital strategist with Denverdata Web. And with me, we have Sarah.
Hi. I'm Sarah Jazwiak. I am a digital marketing analyst at Denverdata Web. This presentation today, or this webinar today, is on Google My Business, which I have a ton of experience with. I worked with Google My Business at my last 3 positions, and then also with independent companies before then. So we think it should be pretty informative and kind of fun to discuss and watch, and yeah.
Cool. I think it kind of goes without saying, I kind of want just going to cover like why even like digital strategy, right? I don't know if a lot of people always think about that. For my part, I really break down the why for that sort of thing into 4 pillars, right? So when I talk to people about their digital marketing strategies, it really always boils down to, who you are, right? Your company, like it's not just who you are as a person, but who's your company, like who you are trying to serve. What are you trying to bring into the world? How are you trying to help people? Your market that your company exists in, like what are your competitors are like? What is the audience that you're trying to get traction with? What do they need to do? What are they trying to solve? Certainly your goals, that really matters, and that's why we need strategy on one level, is because you're trying to accomplish something, whether that's grow your revenue, get more leads, increase awareness about your brand, that sort of thing. But I really see the most important pillar is constraints, right? Because none of us have unlimited bags of money sitting around. If we did, we just throw money at the problem and we'd be done, right? But we can't. And there are so many different marketing channels, so many different tactics, tools you could use. Which one do we use? Which one is going to be the most effective solution to solve our problem, to get us, that more revenue through advertising, or what it's going to be, right? So that's why digital strategy matters. But that really leads us up to what are we going to talk about today? What is our chat about? Well, Google My Business, local listings, that is one of those channels, right? That's one of those things that you can invest some time into that could be really important for your business to help you get off the ground. I think that's what we're talking about. So why don't we just kind of dive into that? What do you say? What exactly is Google My Business anyway? I mean, I got a pretty good idea, but Sarah, you're a pretty big expert on this. So why don't you take it on?
Yeah, like I said, I've worked a lot with GMB, with Google My Business. In short, it's a local listing. When you Google or use Google Maps, or just punch it into your phone into any query, one of the first things you might see, especially if you're looking for a gas station or the nearest grocery store, is a GMB listing, a Google My Business listing. Google My Business shows up in search results. It also integrates with Google Maps. It plays a big part in the SEO of your connected website. So it's similar to something like Yelp or Yellow Pages, but it does a lot more than that also. So for restaurants, you can see menu attached to it. You can see menu items. You can see photos of the restaurant, photos of things from the menu.
I like that, actually. I love like looking in, like picking a restaurant, something. It's all like right there, right? I mean, I don't know if they know like exactly what I'm looking for all the time. Like Google is pretty clever, but the fact there's so many things in there, like even like going to a park, right? Like this weekend, I was going to take my kids to the park, and I was like, where's this one at? Is it open? Is it affected by COVID restrictions? All this stuff. Like, I mean, I kind of like that.
Yeah, it's on a similar realm. I do a lot of hiking. So sometimes if I'm looking for a close place to hike or to take my dogs, I might look just to see what the scenery looks like, to see if it has a pond or something like that. So that part is a big part of it that you may get with some other listings, but it's a lot more, I guess, interactive than other listings. Google users can submit photos to Google My Business that can then be incorporated into your listing. So for that way, you not only interact with the public a little bit more, but you also tend to like gain more images for your business and more information about your business. Additionally, people who are using Google My Business may give insight or say like, this store has lots of handicap parking or handicapped entrances. So it's very interactive in that way. And that way you end up with a much better listing. And I guess just, that's the word I'm looking for.
Well, it sounds like it's really big for SEO then, right? I mean, because, you know,
Yeah.
people are searching for stuff and they want to know, like, is this a place I can go to? Is it available? But also, do they even cater to people like me? Or, you know, I mean, it sounds like it's a pretty critical thing for SEO, but, you know, is that the case?
It is the case, even including the reviews, which are another big thing. I know that probably if you've gone pretty much anywhere trying a new restaurant or even like looking for a new furniture store or something, the first place you usually look is reviews. And those reviews are not only helpful, but they also contribute to the SEO for your local listing, and then in turn the SEO for your website. So yes.
Well, we call it like social proof, right? Because, you know, is it the kind of the term we use is social proof? Like, I mean, doesn't that kind of like speak to people like reviews because they're looking to see what other people have to say about it, right? Not necessarily like, you know, I mean, I can say our business is the best. It's the greatest. You should just take my word for it. But I mean, maybe folks really care about what others think about it, and that might be information that they're going to use to kind of determine if that's valid.
That is true. Yep. So absolutely. And we could probably even stay on this first point all day. But
well, well, you know, no, you're right. I mean, we could just kind of dive it over, but is Google My Business? Because I've always kind of thought of it as something that seemed to be very well suited to small businesses. You know, I definitely grasp and I get it that it's really good for SEO, but I mean, is that really the case that it's mainly tuned to small businesses or not?
Yes and no. Large businesses also have GMB. I think there are a lot of features that definitely benefit small businesses with GMB. And we'll go into that in just a second. But the first thing we want to go over is that with large businesses, you may notice if you're looking for your nearest Walmart and you type it into your Google Maps or your Google search engine, you're going to find all the Walmarts in your area. And we know that Walmart is a very large business. Each location will have its own Google My Business, but then at the same time, you know, you may find that the Walmart nearest you has really bad customer service and really bad selection and the produce has gone bad, but then you can see that another Walmart a few miles away is better. So in
That
that
would
way,
never
yes,
happen at a Walmart.
I don't know why I chose that. It was the first large business I thought of.
No, it is. Like, you
Um,
can't tell how many times I get like a salad kit, you know, from my wife, and she's like, "You picked this one out of all the ones that were there, the one that's like kind of, you know, falling apart." I'm like, hey, my bad.
and yeah, again, I think I just used that example because from state to state, everyone knows of that as a large business. But going back to your first point, yes, it is very beneficial for small businesses, especially not only as a very versatile advertising tool, and not even as a paid advertising tool. I mean, Google My Business is a free interface, a free system that you can use with any small business. It allows you to put information about your business, images like we talked about before. Reviews are huge for getting the word out there, and
Yeah,
you're just letting people know that your business is there and that you're doing a good job. So yeah, in that way, for small businesses especially, it's invaluable.
So there's actually no actual cost to getting set up with Google My Business. I mean, I know Google gives a lot of things for free, you know, so many tools and things that they then shut down a year later because they're like, hey, you know, we got bored with that, which is very much a Google thing. But it seems to me Google My Business isn't going anywhere. What I kind of have determined is that it appears to be very much integrated into their whole search ecosystem, right? I mean, in some respects, it seems like it's a way that Google gets more information about businesses so they can have better search results that they provide to their search customers, I guess you could call visitors. But also it's a great tool for the businesses in a symbiotic way. Like now they can increase awareness of that, right? And so it literally doesn't cost anything to use that.
It does not. And I think, it's a completely free system. There is, as of recently, I think the past few years, you can promote your Google My Business listing through Google Ads. But other than that, the whole interface and everything is completely free. And asking why it doesn't cost anything, if you think about all the reasons you use Google over any other search engine, or all the reasons you use Google listings over, say, Yelp, you're going to continue using Google for those reasons. And you're going to continue, as you're using Google, clicking on ads and using their paid services. So in a way, it's Google helping themselves by offering all these businesses
Right.
this free service that gets people coming back. So yeah, it's free.
Imagine that, Google. Well, you don't get to be such a huge company dominating the search space without thinking a little bit of how it can help you as your company. And that's all right, right? Well, I mean, it definitely seems the case that like small businesses are going to benefit from investing some time and getting their Google My Business listings really organized. But, there's so many different types of businesses and industries. I mean, for us, like we work with so many different types of companies. There's always a different strategy. The other reason for digital strategy is, what solution is going to work for your specific company, right? Not even companies in the same space have unique aspects about them. Their audience is slightly different. Their service offering is different. You want to speak to in a way that really lines it up, right? I mean, does this really work for every type of company though, using Google My Business?
No.
No.
So, excuse me. Excuse me. So Google My Business works primarily with any type of business who works directly with their customers. So if you're a brick and mortar location or a service area business, meaning you provide services to people in their homes or people in their businesses, carpet cleaners, people who do flooring, people who paint homes, those would be a service area type business. And those benefit greatly from Google My Business. And then additionally, if you have a brick and mortar location or a storefront and you work directly with your customers at that location, then Google My Business is for you. Really, we can go over all the types of businesses that benefit from it, but it's actually easier to narrow down the types of businesses that will not benefit from Google My Business, which would be any business that goes through a middleman to get to their customer. So before I started working in digital marketing agencies, I worked with natural foods companies, the distributors. And I would work behind the scenes with the people who made the food and distributed the food. And I would do so from a marketing standpoint. But in between where we were and the actual customers, there was a distributor and a grocery store. So we had no reason to interact directly with our customers aside from a digital media standpoint, like social media or something like that. So in order to, if we had a storefront and we were selling food directly to the customers, that storefront could have its own business, but the food brands on their own would not, just because there's no reason to communicate with the customers directly. The customers don't come in to where we worked. So for that reason, you actually cannot have a GMB because there would be no reason for Google to promote your business to someone who would find it through a third party.
Yeah.
Does that actually make sense? It's kind of a...
It really does. And by GMB, you mean Google My Business profile,
absolutely,
right?
Yeah. I all the time I use the acronym, and I know
acronyms are great, because talking takes energy. I got to keep the coffee drip line into me all day. But no, it makes complete sense. It's all geared around that activity by the end customer, right? Like how they're going about finding what they need, and if it doesn't make sense, it doesn't make sense. Yeah. But there's even like people who run their business like out of their home. Right. And that's okay. I mean, that's great. I mean, there's like going to be a lot more of that. I know it. There's a lot of startups, entrepreneurs, and that sort of thing, and maybe they start out there. I mean, is that risky? Is that something you'd even want to do? Can you like make that not happen? I mean,
So if you are running your business out of your home, that it depends on what the business is though. Because if you're running your business out of your home and you are from your home holding your supplies to do carpet cleaning or to do catering or something like that, that you could use a Google My Business for, because you are interacting directly with the customer regardless of whether or not they come into your home. If you're bringing something to your customer directly or going to your customer's home to perform a service, then absolutely you can have a Google My Business. If that's happening and you are using your home as your office, I definitely wouldn't recommend putting the address on there. You can omit having your address if that's the case, mainly because it doesn't factor into Google Maps in that way. People aren't going to look for your at-home catering business and then come to your house to put in an order. They're going to do that over the phone or online.
right.
And for that reason, you can have a Google My Business and you can put in the areas that you work in, but you definitely wouldn't want to include your address. On the same note, if you have an at-home business and you're providing, you're providing a box of the month club or something, and you're collecting these things and sending out your box of the month club from your home, that would be something that, even though you're sending something directly to the customer, I guess that's not really the greatest example. I have another one. Say you are creating gift baskets that you then have Macy's carry or department stores carry and sell to customers. And you're putting together these gift baskets in your home and you're selling them to stores, and then stores are then selling them to customers. Because there's that middleman in between you and the actual customer, that would not be a case where you would need a Google My Business. And I know there's a little bit of that can be a little bit touch and go, because if you are providing something that a customer directly may want, I guess it's mainly about your business model. What it comes down to is,
Well, no, I get it's not every business is, maybe it's not always black or white. It's not like yes or no. Like, I guess with so many things, it always comes back to like why strategy matters. Is this a good fit for your business? Possibly. It could help. Could something help more? Is there something else you can invest more effort into that's going to give more results? And maybe like, and sometimes for people, I'm like, yeah, there could be, but maybe that's not I don't have the budget or resource to invest in those things, whatever they are now, maybe the advertising or like social campaigns or stuff. But, Google My Business, I can work with that myself. It's an easy interface. I understand that the pieces about it because it's my business. I can answer all the questions Google has, right? So, that can help get some traction earlier on as people are trying to bootstrap what they're doing, right? I mean, I think that's great. So, I mean, that really kind of makes me think in a different direction, though. I mean, it's been a while since I've even looked at like my own Google My Business stuff, because usually it's like, is it the kind of thing that you can kind of like set up once and kind of forget about it?
I definitely wouldn't set it up and forget about it. I
mean
would
not
say
forget about it? Maybe definitely set it up, but maybe you don't want to forget about it and just leave it there forever like that?
no, definitely not. Because one thing that you definitely want to be doing is adding photos on a regular basis, adding new photos, photos of your staff,
Good
photos
thing I'm so
of
photogenic, right?
photos of the way your store is set up. You also, one of the most important things, you want to be responding to reviews, good or bad.
Right.
So that's something that you want to keep an eye on. Typically, you'll get an email as soon as you get a review. So from then you can go in, respond to reviews. But then at the same time, I mean, if you're closed for certain holiday hours, that's something you want to update. If customers are leaving suggestions about different offerings your business has, you want to go in and approve those. So it's definitely not something that needs a whole lot of upkeep. But at the same time, if you have a Google My Business and you are using that as your main advertising tool or even any type of tool to promote your business, I would go in maybe about once a week, just check on any updates that people are submitting, check on any reviews that people are submitting, and
Mhm.
maybe even, I mean, your business description, if you have something new that you're offering, and you want to include that in your description, you can do that there. You can also use Google My Business posts, which are similar to a social media post, where you would go in there and just say, hey, we have an event coming up. Visit our store on this location and, this, that, and the other.
Buy some
Um,
stuff.
yeah, exactly. Coupon codes, you can include that as a Google My Business post. So it's not even, it's the exact opposite of like a Yellow Pages listing, where you can put your information up there. It's just a few lines of information, a few different features, and then you can leave it forever. It's a lot more interactive than that. Absolutely.
It seems like it's kind of evolved even since the last time I took a close look at it. I mean, I have to admit, like, there, like I said, like, there's so many different marketing channels. Like, sometimes I'm more invested or focused on particular ones. Other ones, like, hey, I think I've kind of got this figured out and dialed in. And I don't think about it for a while, but leave it to Google. They keep evolving their products and their systems, right? And you come back a few months later, 6 months later, and all of a sudden, yeah, there's a new thing to that, and they don't always tell us, right? At least that's from what I've seen. So that's pretty compelling to me. The fact that this isn't just like a Yellow Pages listing online. Even there's a whole generation of people now that don't even know what Yellow Pages is. That is what it is, right? But the idea is that,
MySea.com still exists and it's not great.
oh, well, there's a strategy for everything, and there's a place for every channel. It's just really about prioritizing, right? But you know, I think that's a pretty big deal. Like, this isn't just a thing you fill it out once and you leave it. And that's really what I'm getting out of this is, certainly we have a lot of competition for our time every day. And as like a small business owner, or maybe in a bigger business owner, where do you focus? You have marketing people, that's great, and they'll probably focus on it for you, or companies like us. This is a place where you're going to invest time in it over time. Maybe not an exorbitant amount of time, but sounds like adding some content like photos, keep it up to date in terms of your hours, or I know a lot of people probably needed or should have, maybe they didn't update information related to COVID restrictions and stuff, like in their specific communities. People are going to be looking for that. And if they don't see it, they're like, well, I don't know if this place is open. Maybe we'll go somewhere else,
Waste
right?
your time. Yeah,
Right. And then
exactly.
the block, like the little updates, snippets, I didn't know about that. I love learning new things. So, I mean, I guess
You
people
want me
can
to share my
post on,
screen and show it?
what's that?
You want me to share my screen and
Oh
show
yeah,
it?
yeah, yeah, totally. Let's do that. Let's just kind of take a look at it, because there's some neat pieces here.
It's actually not letting me share my screen. It says you have disabled participant screen sharing.
Oh, well, you know what? I'm gonna make you the host. You can do it then.
Oh, well, cool.
Just make me host again later.
Look at that. I will. All right. Thanks, David. Okay.
Oh yeah, there's a lot more than the last time I looked at Google My Business. Wow.
Well, cool.
Well, kind of take us through this.
I will. So yeah, this is just the home screen. So wait until we actually get to the info part. So here, I mean, we already updated
And sorry
our,
to interrupt you, but like, Sarah, this is like, that's kind of like the dashboard for like the person who's using it, right? Like, it's your business, it's my business, it's your business, right? This is what you see when you're logged in as like the business owner for your little portal.
yes, yes, you do. The business owner or the business manager or even the communications manager, which is similar to just like the permissions you'd give an intern. Everybody would see this interface. It just gives you an overview of any reviews you've had recently, which ones you haven't replied to. Looks like we haven't replied to one from 50 weeks ago. Maybe we should. And yeah, just a few little pieces of information, anything stuff that's new from Google My Business will be here. So yeah, it gives you just a high level overview of your interface. We're gonna skip over posts, we'll go back to it though. Info, this is where you can change the information that is seen by anyone Googling. You can also put in a description of your business. It does limit you on characters, but it kind of gives you more than enough. As you can see, we give like a pretty high level overview of Denverdata Web, and we're still almost 300 or 250 characters almost under the limit. So
And characters is just like, that's like a letter, right?
a letter or a space or a period or any keystroke. Yeah, and then there, I mean, it looks like they've suggested other services that we offer, so that's kind of cool. They probably pulled that from our website. That's another cool thing that Google My Business does. They will link to your website and verify and then also suggest information from your website. So I will look at that later just because I do want to make sure I'm checking that.
Well, thanks, Google. That's nice of you.
And while we do have an office and we work directly with our customers, we don't, we do so online, but in a way where we work very closely with the local community. So we do like to have service areas because we do work pretty much nationwide. I do have some other states in there. But again, since we don't work with a third party or a middleman, we can include our address and also the service areas. At the same time, Denverdata Web offers a lot of different services. So we have that here. And I think I'm kind of going off on a tangent. What was the question you asked again, David?
Well, no, I wasn't going to say questions. Like, let's take a look at it. And these like services here that you just showed, like, are those kind of like free form, or do you have to select from like options that Google, so you can kind of just say what you do, right?
Yes and no. As you know, we do a lot of web development, but when I try to enter that in, it doesn't give me, oh, hold on, I'll put web in first.
So you have a little bit of leeway, but it's really dependent on like what Google thinks are kind of actual industries or things that exist.
Yep.
So my underwater like basket weaving business like is really not probably going to.
Some of the options on here are kind of weird. So basket weaving, no, but you can be a basket supplier or a basketball court. Yeah, so I mean, there are preset services that are in there, but so this is almost like a search function when you start entering it. But it will also give you similar businesses if you're entering in something that isn't directly on their list.
That's pretty neat. Yeah, there's so much more here than when it first started, and it seems like Google's really been adding to it over time. So Google Assistant calls, I see that on the right. That's a new thing for me too. What is that about? Is that the whole AI thing that they revealed a couple years ago, where they had like an AI bot essentially answer a phone call for like a barber shop and somebody booked an appointment?
That's a good question. I haven't done anything with this, and I had no idea we had this checked.
Everybody has an opportunity to learn stuff, and that's important. You know, that's really how it is with the digital space.
I know what this is. No, it's a call from Google. So if Google wants to call you and offer you help on optimizing your Google My Business.
Well, it says let customers use it to book with you. I mean,
you're right.
Yeah. Well, I think that's going to be a potential future topic in coming weeks on digital strategy chat on Fridays is all this stuff that Google's been adding. What do they do? We know a lot of them, but man, they keep adding stuff all the time. That's a neat one, right? You know, my guess is that's probably not a fit for everybody, but
yeah.
That's pretty clever. So there's a lot of other stuff on here. I'm looking on the left-hand side. So like insights, right? I mean, I imagine there's some really great kind of analytics and things.
There is. Let's look at posts real quick before we get to that point, because we talked about it. And this is the thing I talked about that's a little bit like a social media post that goes directly out for people to see. And this is the type of thing that you can put an event, like, I guess next time we do one of these webinars, we should put this in here. We should let people know that it's happening ahead of time.
Yeah.
So this type of thing, you can put little advertisements. This was a video that Justin did talking about, Justin is our web development person. that he did on just a little snippet of helpful information. Our COVID up, no, that's not our COVID update. It's
I mean,
on
it's
here
almost like
somewhere.
it's like a blog, essentially. Like you can have like a blog, like somebody might have on their actual website. I wonder, are there some pros and cons to that? Like, I mean, can you share the same stuff on your blog as you put here? Is there any issues? Would be any reason to think there'd be issues, or could people just operate kind of like a blog straight out of this and not even worry about a website?
I wouldn't do that just because it doesn't, it, it wouldn't really make sense to put a whole bunch of text in here.
Hmm,
You could share a blog that you put on your website, the same as you would in a social media post. But if you think about if you're on Facebook or if you're on LinkedIn, you're not going to want to read like pages and pages of information or even
sure.
more than like a short paragraph. So I treat this very similarly to social media. And occasionally I'll even copy and paste something I put on the company's Facebook into Google Posts just because it it does tend to have the same effect that social media does. The reach isn't quite as big just because um, it's really there. It's almost like a footnote when you see it on Google. You'll just see a little bit, a little thing in the corner, and then people can click on it and read more. Um,
Would you say it's
this
kind of
down
more
here,
like if somebody's like trying to like, hey, is this a brand? Is this a company or some restaurant that I might be interested in, or maybe some kind of amusement park to kind of, like I get what you're saying. Like, there's long form content, right? Where it's like, somebody's doing extensive research, or maybe they're keeping up with the latest news or something. This should be latest news, but it sounds to me like they might only access this when they just happen to go look up the company because the business because they're about to go there, perhaps, right? Like, oh, I'm going to go here. What have they been up to recently, or is there any news stuck on it? I mean, is that kind of like a good way to look at it?
yeah, exactly. At the same time, a lot of people look here for coupon codes. A lot of businesses put their coupon codes in posts this way, or events. Like right now, there's parking lot events because people don't want to be indoors with a lot of other people, so
Sure.
that would be in here. Um, Things like that.
I see the COVID-19 update there in the little interface. So like Google provides some tools to, thinking about the things that the users of this system, the business owners are often using, right? So like the COVID update, the offers, the things, that's pretty neat, the events.
Hmm. Absolutely.
You get some analytics on there, see people checking out, insights. There's a lot of resources here. I mean, I guess Google really wants their I mean, I don't know if it's right to call business owners a customer of Google for using this, but I mean, they could be for using advertising, but to give a lot of resources to business owners so they can use this to actually help grow their business.
Yeah, absolutely. And yeah, in a similar way that you're describing, this is, I mean, it's a free advertisement, this thing alone. Um, so yeah, absolutely, you're 100% correct. Let's go into insights that we were kind of going to look into before. This will show you just some very general insights on people who were searching for your bit, or not people, ways that people were searching for your business and the ways they interacted. This will show you views on search versus maps.
Mm.
So as I mentioned earlier, Google My Business search listings integrates directly with maps. So you can see that it just kind of shows you that information by day, which is really cool.
That's
And
like
then
the
also,
map pack, isn't it? Like, what we call like the local map pack or something like that. So like you search for stuff and I guess if there's a local presence to that, like Google, as they've evolved search results pages, you have like advertisements up top and then you have like, I'm thinking in my head what it looks like. We could probably even pull it up, but you have this knowledge pane. I guess it's on the side, right? And then there might be like a map down here in the middle, and it's pointing all the ones. So this ties into that too. Is that how you are able to get showing up in that map area on the search results?
right here,
Well, like if we scroll down, like as a map show. I mean, I guess it doesn't show every time. That's a piece.
map is
Google
right.
dynamically determines how the search results pages work, right? Sometimes they show the maps and those local things, and sometimes not, based on what it thinks is going to help its users, I suppose.
Are you talking about this or when there's several listings all
Oh no, in
back
the
together?
search results pages, sometimes there's a map that shows up in the search results. not in the knowledge pane on the right, but in the search results page. So if you click back, and so that may not be the case with us, but if you scroll down, you know, sometimes in the middle of the page you see there's images. So there's no map that showed up this time. But
It's right.
but we're searching for a specific company, so it's right there. But what if we search for you know, a general type of, so if we go back into like a search and we do a search for, let's say, a general type of business, like let's say
Carpet
carpet cleaners. Yeah, right. So there we go. There's a map that
Yep,
shows up right there. That's what I'm talking about. So
exactly. Yeah.
so to get in like this map to show up there, I mean, I wonder, does Google My Business, is that thing you need to really have it dialed in so you show up in this kind of thing?
Um, in some ways, yes. As I mentioned earlier, sometimes you do have the opportunity to promote your GMB listing. So these two here are marked ad. These show up first because people are paying to have their businesses at the top there.
Mm-hmm.
But then as you
Good for
scroll
them.
down, what's up?
Oh, I was just saying, good for them. I mean, you know, it's great. I mean, that's how the system works, right? Take
Yeah.
advantage of all the tools.
But at the same time, what happens from there, it comes down to not only how your Google My Business is optimized, but then also your review average, your number of reviews, and then also a lot of times just how long the Google My Business listing has been around. So
A lot of factors.
like this one here, you can see it has a 5-point rating, but this one is 4.9. And you say, well, why is this one above this one? Well, this one has 66 reviews and this one has none or one.
I feel like there's a lot of criteria that Google probably use just with SEO in general, where they probably have some kind of complex algorithm, like, you know, it's a mix of, it sounds like it's a mix of some of these different factors, like reputation, how long they've been around, how complete their kind of Google My Business profile is. Is that kind of on point, do you think?
Absolutely. And in the same way that SEO works that way, this works the same way.
It's like it's an additional layer of SEO upon like the more typical stuff with just the websites themselves, right? Because it exists entirely inside of Google. Is Google trying to edge out websites? That's a topic for another day.
Also, one other thing I do want to mention with that is that if your website has very good SEO, you do have a larger chance of appearing higher on the search results. Mm-hmm. And then one other thing I want to mention on top of that, and we could explore that last one more if you want to, but the closer the business is to you, a lot of the times, the higher it'll show on search results. Mm-hmm. Not so much with these, because these are service area businesses that go to you. But especially if you're looking for a restaurant, I know that people don't necessarily want to travel more than 10 miles to go out to eat most of the time. So they'll show you the businesses that are closest to you, usually higher up on results.
Yeah, I mean, that makes sense intuitively. I mean, I know when I do a lot of analytical research, I see all the time lots of searches for, like, you know, something type of business near me. Like, people are very much interested in, you know, that proximity type of thing. You know, I don't want to drive 30 miles to go buy this thing, you know, who's around me or something. But, you know, I guess sometimes if it's good enough, if you're big enough, if you've got enough clout, I imagine you might show up anyway, simply because it seems like people are still interested in going there. You know what? That reminds me. One of the things I love about this whole kind of offering that Google has is you can see what the user or the customer traffic has been at a place, you know, that day, right? Like, it looks like it's really busy right now, and it shows like the little bar graphs with, you know, the kind of like customer traffic at that location. That's pretty clever. I mean, for a business that is, you know, dependent on, that exactly right. That is dependent on actual like foot traffic, that sort of thing. That information, I find it valuable to myself, you know, like as like a consumer, as a customer, right? And so I try and think about those things was you know, what are the tools that are going to help customers that I'm trying to help, and clients.
Yeah, and how they determine that is actually kind of fascinating, and we won't go too much into that because we could probably do an entire webinar on that alone. But yeah, it's amazing that they have that, and I also use that quite a bit too.
Well, you know, like let's take a couple. Like, tell me. Like, I'm honestly, I'm sincerely interested in knowing. Like, how does it work at like a high level? Like, are they using like people's phones to see like their tracking or something? Or
They're not necessarily tracking your every movement, but if you we're just using Walmart as an example again, just because everyone in every state knows about Walmart,
Mhm.
whereas our local grocery stores may not be something that people would recognize state to state.
Sure.
So Walmart, have you ever been like in Walmart or a grocery store and you're in the middle and you need to look something up on your phone and it's just not
Oh yeah.
connecting because you're in a big metal business?
Yeah, all the
Uh,
time. My
Usually
wife will
what you
send me a
do.
text like, "Hey, can you pick up some Apple Jacks for the kids too?" And of course, I don't get it, and I'm halfway home, and then the text comes in like, "Oh man."
So what I do when that happens, when I can't connect to my phone, I look to see if the store has a Wi-Fi,
Mhm.
has a type of Wi-Fi, and then I connect to their Wi-Fi. But every time I visit that store, or sometimes every time I visit any store in that chain, they'll connect me to their Wi-Fi. So at that point, they know I'm in the store without stalking me on my phone. So that's one way that they determine how many people are in the store. Another way is simply by looking at how many people are navigating to the store. So if you're navigating to Walmart, even if you don't actually end up there, it may factor in that
It's
you're
like Google
there
Maps,
because,
right? Is what you're talking about, like that sort of.
yeah, if you're navigating on GPS or on Google Maps or on Waze, it may take into consideration that you've done that. And
Well,
whether
full
or not
disclosure, I actually use Google Maps to get to Walmart, by the way, or like King Soopers or whatever,
Yep.
because there's so many things I try and keep in my head, like all the type of strategies and things I'm working on in a week, or proposals, or research. I keep that all in my head constantly, but I can't remember how to get to the grocery store as a result. So I literally like use directions. Like I use my Apple Watch, like Siri, can you give me directions to get home? And Siri's like, you're a mile away. You can't figure it out. Like, I do what I can.
um, but yeah, so, and I mean, again, we could talk about this for days, but say you type it into your phone and you start going there and you're like, actually, I don't really want to go there, and then you cancel it.
Mhm.
It may even count you as somebody who's in the store just because they know that not everyone who goes there necessarily has to type it into their GPS.
Sure.
So in a way, it kind of cancels each other out, but then there's other factors to include also. So it's a matter of who is navigating there, who is using the Wi-Fi, who is being automatically connected to the Wi-Fi, and then a number of other things as well.
That's pretty clever. Way to go, Google. You guys never cease to amaze me. Well, there's a lot of cool features to it, but I mean, I imagine at like a core level, there's probably some aspects of like your Google My Business profile that you really want to make sure are kind of updated as like a bare minimum, right? I mean, when you think about like optimizing it, um, you got like your business info, right? I mean, we talked about SEO. Are there like key things you want to make sure are always updated properly, and like, can you put in things like keywords and stuff like that? I mean, how does that work?
Absolutely. One thing I do want to mention first off is that this labels section is not for keywords. I
Hmm.
I want to say that first, just so we don't have to sidetrack later. I've worked with many client Google My Businesses. That's why I say GMB, because it's easier to make it plural and things like that.
Sure. Good.
Um, I've worked with many GMBs where I am given access to an existing GMB, and clients put keywords here and they put many of them. And it doesn't, this isn't, it's an internal system. It has absolutely no basis outside of your own Google My Business interface. So if you want to do that, by all means, go ahead. It's just, it won't factor into your SEO at all. So that's one thing I do want to mention. As far as actual keywords that you want to enter, a huge part of your keywords is making sure you have every single service that you offer and business category implemented on
Right.
this section here. So you want to make
Makes
sure
sense.
if you offer something, even if you sell one of those services a year, you want it to be in there, because this is going to serve as probably your main source of keywords. And if you look at all of these words, all of these categories we use as keywords on our website. So Google is almost giving you the option, choose our predefined keywords. It's great. These are here for you. So that's one thing that you definitely want to include for optimization. Additionally, and this isn't really optimization, it's more of just really best practices that do factor in. You want to make sure that when you're putting in your URL, that you do have the correct URL. So at Denverdata Web, we do use a CSS, and then we also don't use the www prefix in our website. So we enter that in exactly how it loads on our website, which prevents redirecting and 301s if somebody clicks on, say if we added a www, it would work, but it would have to redirect and it would cause slowdown, which kind of causes poor user experience. So that's one thing I do.
And URL is just like the website address, basically, right?
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Sort of.
Thank you. Additionally, this is actually a relatively new feature. It's been around for a few years. Your services. So Google will take, looks like we have to make some updates. Google will take the service categories that you enter and punch them in as automatic services that you offer. But then from there, we can break down sub-services within each of those services, like we've done here. And like I mentioned, Google probably looks like they looked at our website and they're like, hey, what about all these ones? So yeah, so this is another huge section for keywords. And then the most free-form section for keywords, and something you absolutely definitely want to spend a little bit of time on, is your business description. So if you look in here, you can see we have the neighborhood where our office is located. We have the city where we are. We're in Denver. We have our business name. We have some services that we offer and a CTA at the end. So all of those things, those are keywords, but it's also, we wrote it in a way where we're describing our business in a very high level, but we're also using those keywords that do affect search results. And then,
a CTA, that means like call to action, right?
Yep, absolutely. Thank you.
So that last bit there, give us a call or reach out today to get started. I mean, we're essentially, when we say call to action, we're encouraging in a very assertive way to our potential audience, customers, people looking us up, say, hey, you should get on the phone. Let's talk, right? I mean, we can figure out what we can do and how we can help you. Let's see what you need, rather than just like putting a bunch of info and then assuming that people will actually reach out, right? I mean, everybody's going to reach out if they just see it, right? No, that's actually not the case.
And yeah, you're 100% correct. And people also may not know, we say give us a call because that's our preferred method of speaking with customers, rather than come into our office, because that, especially right now, wouldn't make a whole lot of sense. So we're telling them exactly what we want them to do next in order to begin working with us.
Are there any ways you can mess up this stuff? Like, let's say, this all seems like pretty important things. You want to make sure you kind of add the right info, add some calls to action so people know to reach out and take that action, add photos and things. But I mean, is there a way that you can mess up your Google My Business profile? Like, I'd be worried if I did.
There absolutely is.
Oh no.
I don't see this too much anymore, just because Google doesn't let you do it. I used to see people or companies really beefing up their company name. And the example I like to use, just because it's a fun example, is, and it's not a real example, this is hypothetical, a pizza restaurant that would have, say, like Tony's Pizzeria, and then in parentheses afterwards they'd write fresh, Italian, cheesy, all these keywords that they wanted to include in their business name, even though it's not part of their business name. And that used to be allowed. You used to be able to put as long of a business name as you wanted, even if it wasn't your actual business name. And as you can imagine, that may give you an unfair advantage above other companies using their actual business name. So it's not really relevant anymore, just because it's not allowed anymore, but it was
Hmm.
one way that people were kind of like playing the system a little bit.
It sounds like
Another,
Google's reviewing this stuff, you would say then? You say it's not allowed, so are there like Google people, staff members, reps, essentially they review these things for the information on?
there is an auto review that will catch things like that, and then there is often, if they find an issue with the auto review, they will send it for manual review.
Oh, wow. I mean, it sounds like Google. You have sophisticated AI or something like that to see if it needs a human to make a judgment call, something like that.
Mm-hmm. Um, One other way, well, there's a few other ways people can, and you can see kind of our other companies here too. One thing that I've seen pretty often is that if I want to add a location, I can go through this right now and add a location, but it doesn't necessarily mean it's verified and it doesn't mean it's live. So I've had, especially when I was an independent contractor, clients would come to me and they're like, oh, I set up my Google My Business and I can't find it anywhere. And then they'd show it to me and it wouldn't be verified. So they wouldn't have gone through the verification process to have their business live.
Hmm.
And I mean, it'll tell you right away, it'll be red over here, it'll say it needs verification. But that's another way, another mistake that can be made, that especially like with some of the older demographic who doesn't who wouldn't necessarily think to look for those things right away. That's another way, that another mistake you can make, where you're putting all this work into creating a listing that nobody's even going to see. One other
Yikes.
thing that, what's up?
I was just thinking, yikes, that's the worst. Like, how come nobody's coming to my page? Did you publish it? Oh,
Um, and I kind of went over some of the mistakes that can be made, like not using the correct form of your website address, not including the service areas where you offer services to, not including all of your business categories. Actually, let's go back to services for a second, because that's another thing where I've seen a mistake being made. Since we're a company that can work remotely with our clients, and we can work, they don't have to come directly to us, and we don't have to, or they don't have to come directly to us. We can enter up to, I think, 10 service areas or 15 or something like that. But if you're a brick and mortar location, and you are a brick and mortar location that has their one location in Denver, you cannot add extra service areas. So if say we were Denverdata Web wouldn't offer storefront business. Let's go back to the pizza example. If you're a pizzeria and you reside in Denver, and you want to make sure that people in Lakewood and people in Golden see your location,
mm-hmm.
You would really just have to do that by keeping your business optimized and making sure that you're getting reviews, and just hoping that Google wants to promote your business. But as far as offering service areas in that way, that is not allowed. And that's something that when Google sees that, it may even just cross out your extra service areas that you enter.
But as opposed to like a plumber, right? Like they're going to go travel to their clients' locations. They might serve people in Aurora or Littleton or Denver. They're going to be driving around a lot, but that might be a service area. Those are places that they will go to because they're not tied to a physical office where they only operate out of.
Exactly. So, this area is a great place for service area businesses to input the areas where they are willing to go to also. I know that I've worked with, I think it was a painter who their home that they worked out of was in Silverthorne, and they would travel down to Denver and Aurora in the summer, but in the winter they stayed in the Dillon County area. So they would change their service areas throughout the year to reflect the areas where they'd work. So exactly, that's a great point.
Wow, there's a lot of important aspects to it. It's definitely the case, but I mean, there's a lot of value to be gained from it. We're coming up close to the kind of end of the hour for our little chat, but I think something to be good just to kind of cap out on that would be, how do you get started with Google My Business? I mean, where do you even like sign up for it? I mean, what is the best place for most people to get started with that?
You need a Google account, whether that's Gmail or whether you are linking your existing email and creating a Google account from it. So, I mean, that's, like I mentioned earlier, it's a free service. You just need to have a Google account.
Gotcha.
From there, once you get here, I mean, you really just navigate to business.google.com and you can start from there. You can either claim a location that exists already on Google, because especially if it's a popular location, even if you don't go ahead and set it up, Google may say like, hey, people are visiting this location and people are requesting to see this location, so they can put it up themselves. From there, you can claim it. But you can also like say I wanted to set up a business for Sarah's gift baskets or something like that. And I'm not actually going to do this, obviously, but
I don't know. Maybe you
okay.
should. Could be a good business. Gotta have
From
that
there,
side hustle going on.
I would go through, I would enter in my business categories. Again, this is very hypothetical and I'm not going to do this. Do I want to add a location customers can visit, like a store or office? No. I'm just trying to get to the point where there's the meat of it.
No, this is great because this shows like it's very much a guided process. That's helpful for people, I would say,
Yeah,
to get through it.
it is. It's going to make me try and verify. And then from here, after this, I'm not going to do this part because then it's going to start making me want to verify. But
Oh, sure.
you would enter in just the very guided information, and then you'll get to a certain point where it does want you to verify. And it may have you verify over the phone. It may send you an email, or in a lot of cases, especially if you're setting up a lot of businesses back to back, it'll send you a postcard to the address that you put in. And that's not necessarily going to be a live address, especially if you're running a business out of your home.
Mm-hmm.
But it'll send you a postcard just so you can verify that you are real, you exist, you're not running a scam, and they can send you a real in-person postcard that you can enter in the code and verify your business. So how Google chooses to have you verify is largely up to them in the moment. I've set up back-to-back businesses for the same, or back-to-back locations for the same company with two completely different verification processes. But you're correct that it is very guided. They tell you what to do next, and in very, very few options on each page. So it's pretty easy.
Well, that's pretty cool. I like that Google does that. I don't necessarily say that often. Google, if you're listening, tens of thousands of people, like, thanks, Google. Sometimes I rag on Google because it's difficult and challenging sometimes to work with the ecosystem they've created, but it's so big, it's so compelling, and this seems like a really great component of that, and how that's going to help businesses, whether they're small businesses or some of bigger businesses in a variety of industries, really get some traction.
Yeah, absolutely. So David, were we going to end this at noon, or do we have time to go over one more thing?
We can kind of go on one more. How about, what do you got?
I just want to talk about arguably the most important part of Google My Business, which is reviews.
Yeah.
We talked earlier about optimizing your page and using keywords. Reviews are another place for keywords, and clients will no doubt include keywords without realizing in their reviews, or customers, I should say. Not all businesses have clients per se. But then at the same time, when you respond to those reviews, you can also be using keywords. It looks like we haven't done that so much yet, but moving forward, it's definitely something that we're going to start doing, is using keywords in our responses. And then also, yeah, I did want to mention that because it's really, really important. And then I kind of mentioned earlier that responding to each and every review, good or bad, is very important. So And yeah, I just want to throw that in there because I think it's probably one of the most important things about maintaining and optimizing your Google My Business.
Oh, I get it. Yeah, yeah. I think that makes a lot of sense. I mean, I'm sure it's we could have a little chat like this in the future, in one of our future ones, about reviews and social proof and like reputation management, all that stuff. Because you get clients. It's not easy sometimes to get new clients and customers and things like that. You want to keep them, and you want to make sure if somebody expresses like they're not happy, how can you help improve upon that and let them know you care. And if somebody's really happy, you also want to like, hey, that's great to hear, and see everybody, like, we're doing our best, and it's recognized. That's awesome.
But yeah, that's actually a great topic for a webinar. Good point.
Well, we
All right.
certainly did cover a lot today. Thanks so much, Sarah. But
Yeah.
thank you everybody who attended today. We're going to be doing these digital strategy chats every week. Look for this the same time every Friday. Going to be a different topic every time. We'll certainly announce that, and we think about some really good topics to cover. But be sure to check for that on social media, Facebook and LinkedIn. Be sure to like and subscribe. We also have a lot of great tutorials and guides and insightful.
David, we have a question.
Oh yeah, look at that.
Okay, Angela, you have a question. What
If you want to list your business nationally? That is a great question.
You can do that. You can enter United States as your service area. I think we may have done that actually. Let me look.
So, I mean, it kind of speaks to not every business is just local, right? I mean, small businesses, they might be local, but hey, your business grows. Maybe you operate at a much larger scale. I mean, how does Google My Business fit into national scale, right?
Yeah. And yeah, in the past I worked with a knife direct consumer knife supplier, and we did that exact thing. Their service areas in this section here were United States and Canada, and that was it. And Angela, when you originally set it up, yeah, when you enter in it'll ask for where your service, hold on. That's a good point. Let's look at that real quick.
So when you do like the setup process and it's asking you like your location.
Yeah, you can do that right here. United States, Canada, Mexico. Yeah, you can do it right there. And then your actual location where they send your postcard is a different screen. So.
Right. So like, maybe you have your national headquarters or something like that. And maybe you only have the one office, but your reach is pretty broad. Yeah, no problem, Angela. And thank you for the great question. That's great, because I have to admit that sometimes when I think of Google My Business, when I have thought about it, I think of it in local terms, right? It's like when I'm often using it myself, it's because I'm exploring local business and stuff, but it doesn't have to be limited to local. It could help your business even if you're operating at the national scale. And that's pretty compelling.
Yeah. I mean, I would definitely absolutely recommend doing on-site optimization that promotes your business nationally as well, but this can help.
Right. You mean like on a website, when you say on-site, like website and Google My Business being in sync, really, for that national kind of scale?
Yeah.
Sounds like a good topic for another day. Well, thank you again for the question there, Angela, and thank you to our attendees. Thank you, Sarah. I've learned a lot today. I like to think I know a lot, but I'm always learning new things. And Sarah, you are absolutely brilliant.
Apparently I am too. I didn't understand what that one section is, and I still don't, and I'm interested to look into it.
We're all on a journey. That's the way I see it, right? And we're constantly improving and learning, and that's how we keep getting to where we want to, right? Well, thank you again. Everybody be sure to like and subscribe on social media so you'll get announcements on our next digital strategy chat. Also check out our YouTube channel because we share little snippets of videos from these things and other tutorials. Other than that, thank you and have a great weekend.
Yeah. Bye.